deemed dividend, section 222A to section 222E of the Income Tax Act 1961. First, let us consider a dividend income which is defined in section 8 of Income Tax Act. For the purposes of inclusion in the total income of the SSE, A. Any dividend declared by the company or distributed or paid by it with the meaning of section 222A to section 222E shall be deemed to be the income of the previous year in which it is so declared, distributed or paid as the case may be. And B part, any interim dividend shall be deemed to be the income of the previous year in which the amount of such dividend is unconditionally made available by the company to the member who is entitled to it. So dividends can be broadly divided into two categories. One is interim and final dividend. This we study at the time of financial accounting. And second is the deemed dividend. So for taxation purposes, it is covered in section 222A to section 222E. An interim dividend is declared by the board of directors at any time before the closure of the financial year, whereas a final dividend is declared by the members of a company at its annual general meeting if the same has been recommended by the board of directors of the company. Let us see the entries which are passed in the books of account at the time of interim and final dividends. At the time of declaration, it is reserves account debit to dividend payable. At the time of payment, it is dividend payable account debit to bank account. This is the normal dividend. Now let us understand what is deemed dividend. Section 222 deems, that is considers the following as dividend: any distribution by a company of accumulated profits, whether capitalized or not, if such distribution entails the release by the company to its shareholders equity and preference of all or any part of the assets of the company. So what is the meaning of accumulated profits, whether capitalized or not? Understanding this is very important because it comes in almost all the clauses of section 222. Suppose there is a company called ABC Limited which has a share capital of 100 crores, reserves of 75 crores, liability of 25 crores, fixed assets of 125 crores and current assets of 75 crores, totaling to 200 crores. Now ABC Limited declares a bonus issue of 1 bonus share for every 4 shares held. So bonus shares will be of rupees 25 crores. So after bonus, the balance sheet of the company will be something like this, where your share capital increases from 100 crores to 125 crores and reserves reduces from 75 crores to 50 crores. Rest of the things remains unchanged. Accumulated profits after bonus issue will remain at rupees 75 crores, that is capitalized profit of rupees 25 crores and revenue reserves of rupees 50 crores. Let us read again section 222A. Any distribution by a company of accumulated profits, whether capitalized or not, if such distribution entails the release by the company to its shareholders equity and preference of all or any part of the assets of the company. Let us again consider ABC Limited after bonus issue, which was discussed in the previous slide. The same balance sheet I am carrying it forward. Accumulated profits as discussed earlier remains at rupees 75 crores. The company sells plant and machinery, that is a part of the fixed assets, having a book value of rupees 80 crores and distributes the sale proceeds of the same to the shareholders. This is the case of deemed dividend and it is taxable in the hands of shareholders. But how much will be considered as deemed dividend? If the fair market value of plant and machinery is say 70 crores, then deemed dividend will be 70 crores. If the fair market value, that is the sale proceeds of plant and machinery, is 100 crores, the deemed dividend will be 75 crores. If the fair market value, that is the sale proceeds of plant and machinery, is 80 crores, the deemed dividend will remain as 75 crores because deemed dividend is only to the extent of accumulated profits, which in the present case is rupees 75 crores. Deemed dividend will be only to the extent of accumulated profits of the company, whether capitalized or not. This is very important. Section 222B, any distribution to its shareholders, that is equity and preference, by a company of debentures, debenture stock or deposit certificates in any form, whether with or without interest, and any distribution to its preference shareholders of shares by way of bonus to the extent to which the company possesses accumulated profits, whether capitalized or not. So in this case, any distribution made by the company to the extent of the accumulated profits to equity and preference shareholders by way of debentures, debenture stocks or deposit certificates, it will be considered as deemed dividend. Secondly, in case of preference shareholders, any distribution by way of bonus shares. Generally now if you go to see, bonus shares are given to equity shareholders, but you are giving this benefit to preference shareholders to the extent of the accumulated profits of the company, it will be considered as deemed dividend. Section 222C, any distribution made to the shareholders, here in this case equity, of a company on its liquidation, to the extent to which the distribution is attributable to the accumulated profits of the company immediately before its distribution, whether capitalized or not. Now if you consider the balance sheet of ABC Limited, okay, it goes into liquidation on 27th of March 2023. Accumulated profits are rupees 75 crores. This is discussed earlier. So deemed dividend will be only to the extent of 75 crores. So any distribution to the shareholders, equity shareholders at the time of liquidation will be attributable or will be considered as deemed dividend if immediately before the liquidation the sales proceeds are distributed to the extent of accumulated profits of the company. If after the date of liquidation, that is 27th of March 2023, any profit earned by the company from the sale of assets will be treated as settlement of dues to equity shareholders and will not be deemed as deemed dividend. This is very important. Section 222D, any distribution to its shareholders, that is equity and preference, by a company on the reduction of its capital to the extent to which the company possesses accumulated profits, whether such accumulated profits have been capitalized or not. Now here is a company called PQR Limited, which has an equity share capital of 125 crores. Face value of each share is rupees 10 and a preference share capital of rupees 100 crores. Face value of each share is rupees 10 in case of preference share capital also. Now what does the company do is it reduces the face value of the shares from rupees 10 to rupees 8. Now suppose after reduction the company distributes rupees 45 crores to equity and preference shareholders, then rupees 45 crores is considered as deemed dividend. Now how I got 45 crores is equity share capital reduces from 125 crores to 100 crores, that is 25 crores from there, and preference share capital reduces from 100 crores to 80 crores, that is rupees 20 crores from preference share capital, so totaling to 45 crores. So if you go to see, my current assets also reduces by 45 crores, that is from 200 crores it goes down to 155 crores. Why that is so? Because in the current assets there is a cash component from where I have distributed rupees 45 crores. So that 45 crores current assets have been reduced basically because the cash has been distributed to equity and preference shareholders. So this is also considered as deemed dividend. Now generally the capital reduction is done in the case of internal reconstruction of a company, when there are losses by the company and only after the approval of NCLT or the court. But in the case of PQR Limited, instead of losses, there is a profit, or there are surplus reserves of 175 crores. So this reduction is just done for the benefit of shareholders, and hence it is deemed as deemed dividend, or it is considered as deemed dividend. Section 222E. Now let us understand this section first with the help of an example. There is a company called ABC Private Limited. Mr. A holds 15% equity shares in ABC Private Limited. Any loan or advance given by ABC Private Limited to Mr. A is considered as deemed dividend. Now there is a partnership firm in which Mr. A is a partner and he holds 20% or more of the share in the partnership firm. Any loan or advance given by ABC Limited to the partnership firm in which Mr. A is a partner will also be considered as deemed dividend. There is one Mr. X. Any payment made by ABC Private Limited to Mr. X on behalf of Mr. A is deemed dividend. Now let us read the section. Any payment by a company not being a company in which public are substantially interested. That means they are talking about a private limited company. In our case, we have considered it as ABC Private Limited. Of any sum, whether as representing a part of the assets of a company or otherwise, by way of advance or loan to a shareholder. In our case, ABC Limited is giving any advance or loan to Mr. A, being a person who is a beneficial owner of shares, not being shares entitled to fixed dividend, whether with or without a right to participate in profits. So they are saying any advance or loan given by a private limited company to an equity shareholder holding not less than 10% of the voting power. We have in our example taken Mr. A and have said that he is holding 15% shares, which is more than 10% of the voting power. Or to any concern, that is an HUF firm, association of persons or body of individuals. Here I have taken an example of a partnership firm in which Mr. A is a partner, in which such shareholder, that is Mr. A, is a member or a partner, and in which case he has a substantial interest, that is a share of 20% or more. Or any payment by the company on behalf or for the individual benefit of any such shareholder. So here I have taken the case of Mr. X and ABC Private Limited paying amount to Mr. X on behalf of Mr. A. To the extent to which the company in either case possesses accumulated profits. So if you see the example first, you will understand the section better. Now one thing I would like to clarify is they are saying here only accumulated profits. They are not saying accumulated profits capitalized or not. So I am under the impression accumulated profits is revenue reserves only. This is my opinion, or this is my interpretation of the law. Now let us see what are the exceptions to section 222A to section 222E. Any advance or loan made to a shareholder or the said concern by a company in the ordinary course of its business, where the lending of money is a substantial part of the business of the company. For example, NBFC, that is a non-banking financial company, gives a loan or advance to a shareholder will not be deemed as, or not will not be considered as deemed dividend, as the main activity of non-banking financial company is lending. So if the main business of the company is lending of money, then any loan or advance given to its shareholder will not be considered as deemed dividend. Second, in the case of buyback of shares, so any payment made by the company on purchase of its own shares from the shareholder will not be considered as deemed dividend. Then in the case of demerger, that is any distribution of shares pursuant to a demerger by the resulting company to the shareholders of the demerged company, whether or not there is a reduction of capital in the demerged company. Then fourth point, any dividend paid by the company to the shareholders from whom the company has taken loan or advance and a dividend is paid to set off the loan or advance, then it will not be treated as deemed dividend. So these are the exceptions to the concept of deemed dividend. In these four situations, it will not be considered, any payment made by the company to the shareholder will not be considered as deemed dividends. Thank you. If you like the video, please click on the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel.